Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Today is Wednesday, the 21st of December 2022. And it's been a while since I've made a video, so here I am making another video. And I just want to talk about the reason I use grüß Gott. Okay. Well, in secular Germany today, nobody would probably say Grüß Gott, or maybe in the Schwabenland, maybe southern Germany, they might still use this phraseology. And it just means greetings to God, or if you mention God as you pass by, tip your hat. And, it's just a greeting. But nowadays, people will probably say, Tschüss. I don't know what the hell that even means, but it's something like later, or I don't know, or hello, or goodbye, whatever that means, but it seems to be really popular. And as most of the Christian world, seems to have kind of drifted towards secularism more, not in all areas, of course, but here and there they have. Oh, I just wanted to show off my t-shirt here. There they are. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on today. And first of all, I guess I need to talk about my opinions. And I wanted to say something about what I heard in the steel mills, a long time ago, when somebody was talking, and, they wanted to have some sort of a discussion, somebody always piped up and say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And so, yeah, this is kind of like my opinion of what's going on and how I feel about it. And I'm not sure whether it's of any historical value or not, but you know what? There may be some sort of a great grandson, says, we have this. What was it like at that time? Well, what was it like? And hopefully I've kind of transmitted that a little bit. What was it like for me and our family and living in America and having been from Germany and escaped the Russians and all that kind of stuff? Because, after all, I'm 83 years old. And so, there are fewer people like me around to talk about those things. And I was also thinking that, so I grew up with my parents, and I mentioned to my wife, I have a history that goes back to, in terms of, the oral history that I heard from my parents, probably goes back like 110 years, if I just kind of say that my father was born in 1912, and mom in 1913. And so my wife immediately said, hey, wait a minute. I probably go back 150 years, And, well, she has a far more storied history than I mean, my history kind of stops in Western Poland, kind of, and then Germany. But her history goes back, and she can say that she really is a descendant of, or a relative of T.S. Eliot. T.S. means, I think, Thomas Stearns, since Thomas Stearns was one of the, kind of like among the founding fathers of this country. So her history is definitely something noteworthy. And I've encouraged her doing a video on this, but, she is a little bit reluctant to do this, because it's really hard to talk about yourself. Whereas you can see that I have no problem with it. I can talk about myself all day, So, well, what else is going on in the world, to give you a sense of what's happening? Well, of course, it's day 301 of the Ukrainian war. And, I think I've talked plenty about this in the past, because I really feel strongly about it. No matter what Putin's reasons were for doing this, security for Russia, maybe building empire, so whatever his personal reasons are, and he's expounded on them. He says, hey, NATO, you guys lied. You tried to get encroach into our sphere of influence, by taking the Ukraine into NATO, and you've done that with other countries. And of course, we're saying, well, no, they're the ones that come and ask us. But who knows what's really goes on, in high-level politics, between leaders and so forth. So in any case, that is still raging, and now it's wintertime, and people are suffering on all sides. Well, they're suffering in the Ukraine, not so much in Russia. But if you're in the Ukraine, it doesn't matter whether you're Russian or Ukrainian. If the infrastructure is gone, and you can't get um, electricity or heat, or can't cook your food, or you have, always under the threat of some sort of bombing, or, it's just awful. And it's awful for the invaders as much as for the defenders. So probably a little worse for the defenders for sure, because they're. But you think about the motivation. These guys, the Ukrainians, are fighting for their countries, and the Russians, according to Putin, they're they're going to liberate the oppressed Russians in Ukraine, and they think that the Ukrainian government is some sort of a Nazi government, and Putin said they're a bunch of Nazis, and Zelensky is Jewish, and you know. Anyway, probably the biggest story in the financial market is, well, other than the market going to shit, and Dow Jones is down, everything is always in the red, it seems like. Tesla is down, crazy. Um, anyway, what's going on otherwise, is this FTX thing, is probably one of the biggest financial disasters, that has happened. And I remember that the dot-com boom, when suddenly companies were emerged and they were valued higher than General Electric and some of the old companies there, just on the basis of the stock and so forth. So FTX and this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, has really screwed over a bunch of investors and probably hidden a bunch of money, but I don't know about this. And anyway, he was arrested in the Bahamas, and he says, yeah, I want to be extradited to the United States, for trial, because, he's been indicted and accused of all kinds of malpractice when it comes to the financial world, violated a bunch of laws and rules and regulations and so forth. But most of all, the people lost a whole bunch of money in that whole scheme in there. And what's really interesting is that he decided, well, what's money anyway? Okay, we can't eat it. It's something that people say, well, this is what it's worth. A dollar is worth, half a loaf of bread, or a third of a loaf of bread, or a fifth of a loaf of bread, or, whatever it's worth, so you're taking this money someplace and you get something. And so what's it all about? It's only because people believe in the money that it's worth anything, they can buy anything. So Sam said, well, I've read this book here. I don't know whether he said that, but I want to hold up this book. It's really something. There's this guy, Yuval Noah Harari, and he wrote this book called Sapiens. And I highly recommend that as a read. What you're seeing here is the graphical novel of the Sapiens book. So, it's something you can pick up at Amazon or elsewhere if you haven't read it already. But if you have, then you know what I'm talking about, because, they're talking about fiat currency and so forth. You can't eat the dollar, and so consequently, it's only worth what people say it's worth. So these guys said, okay, well, we can do this, at FTX, and they established the FTT token. And suddenly these tokens, they just arbitrarily said, well, they're worth this much, and started to put them on their website and into their, and selling them to people. People were buying these tokens, and they just made this shit up, out of thin air, Ah, crap, and there was nothing backing them except, Sam Bankman's word and, faith in FTX, the company, which was a crypto trading company. So crypto is kind of in its infancy here, and they went down a crapper, and of course now people are saying, "Wait a minute, maybe I want to invest in more real things, instead of what people are saying, like, well, how about real dollars, that we, give each other, for stuff." The thing is, you know, that you can't be sure that these are real dollars anymore because we don't know how much gold there is in the federal in Fort Knox, to back up all of the value of the dollar. So it's still, people saying, well, this is what it is, and they're trading dollars on the international markets and buying oil with it, and that's why this is a lot of people are nervous about this because in the consciousness of humans now, they're starting to think about, yeah, what is this piece of paper, really? What is it worth? Well, it's worth only what somebody thinks it's worth, because is it really backed by diamonds and things like this? Or we're saying it's backed by this massive economy of the United States, but, there's something else involved, and that is the price of oil. And petrodollars, are the ones that you use to pay for oil. And it is said that the Iraq war was actually about the petrodollar because Saddam Hussein wanted to use his Middle Eastern dinar or whatever. And the same thing happened in Libya with Gaddafi. It is said, and so I can't really prove it, because, people write this stuff, that Gaddafi was deposed because he wanted to establish something which he called the denarii. And the denarii was actually backed by massive amounts of golds, which he had hoarded. By the way, China also hoards gold. A lot of things, a lot of payments to China have to be done in gold. And there are probably some other countries too. And so Gaddafi wanted to trade oil, with instead of using the petrodollar, his denarii, and establish that, and kind of cut himself off, from Western global markets, in order to establish kind of influence in Africa, and become that Africa can become their own little a global trading outfit. Anyway, so yeah, Gaddafi, met his end, in a sewage pipe because, people caught him in there, shot him, all that kind of stuff. So you've got to wonder about that, what is really going on and what is money. And of course, with all this crypto stuff, as a matter of fact, just today, I read there's some big company just went out of business, and they filed for Chapter 11 because how crypto money and crypto is established. You can't create it just out of thin air. You actually have to do some work for it. So it takes a lot of energy. And these crypto Bitcoin miners, all around the country, trying to find the cheapest energy, and then solve these puzzles and create the money. And there's blockchain involved and all that. I really don't understand all of that, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But you'll hear these words, and maybe in the future, or somebody watching this knows exactly what's going on. And you can always, when the video is posted, just put something in your comments and say, hey, you were so full of shit on this. Anyway. So the other thing, that I just want to quickly talk about, and that is prisoner swaps. What we've done is, our basketball star, Griner, what the heck is her first name? Stephanie or something like that, Griner. She was finally released from Russian prison because we traded a really badass, to the Russians for him. So the prisoner swap is going on, and now eliciting a discussion. So why was Griner, a basketball player, released and traded for this what they call the merchant of death, and not some of the Marines, or some of the other citizens. I think there are several U.S. citizens that have been in prison for a long time, but of course, Griner was the most famous one because she's a 7-foot woman playing basketball, and well, she was sent to a Russian penal colony, I guess in Siberia or someplace, so for hard labor, because this is what the Russians do. And I know about those kinds of colonies because my grandfather, Wilhelm, told me a lot about that, because he spent several years over there, just didn't do anything, just being captured by the Russians, and sent to Siberia. And when he came back, he was really sick. And I made a video about that sometime in the past. But he told me what was going on over there. So I kind of felt sorry for Griner. She, brought some, I guess, cocaine or some sort of a drug, or maybe hashish, or some sort of an oil. But, in America, this would have been looked at as a minor crime, or even if a crime at all, or, probably just nod and wink at this, when she comes to America. Maybe she got her stuff back. Who knows? I don't know. But in Russia, that was illegal, and that's why they had her on trial and threw her in jail. Anyway, so this is what's going on right now, and now she's happy, and she was really an anti-American. Wouldn't stand for the national anthem, and did all of these protest things in the past. And now America came to her rescue. I wonder how she feels about America now. Well, I mean, she's now safe, so she can say anything the hell she wants, and can bash us again. Anyway, yeah, there's some controversy over that. The other thing, that happened is that I was hoping. I talked about the ripple, the red ripple, and of course Herschel Wagner and and what the heck was the name, Brockman or something like that, that they were running for had to have a rerun for the Senate in Georgia, and the Republicans just lost another seat in the Senate. So now it's 49-51, clearly a Democratic majority in the Senate. The House has got the Republican majority. The Senate has the Democratic majority. But it's kind of interesting, because the senator from Arizona said, "Oh, I'm going to register as an independent," and she ran as a Democrat. So now the Democrats are kind of jittery about what the hell is going on here, and they may, it may not be easy to get stuff through the Senate, that they want to do, tax and spend Democrats. All right. Yeah, her name was Sinema, I guess, from Arizona. So she won as a Democrat and decided, well, she's going to register as an independent. Damn, that's got to be hard. So, well, one of the things, that's going to happen in the Congress is under Nancy Pelosi, and when Congress was under Democrats' control, they went through all this gender nullification, and the Republicans call it, what do they call it? Linguistic vandalism. That we, them, that you can't say father, you can't say mother. I don't know what, I don't quite understand it, but all of the pronouns that we're so used to, male, female, woman, and so forth, they all just eliminated this, and so now the Republicans are saying, well, we're going to just reinstate all that stuff, so that's what's going on. And, wow. And, another thing is Elon Musk, our hero of Tesla and SpaceX, so he bought Twitter, right? For $44 billion, I guess that's kind of pocket change for this guy. And but that's caused a huge problem, and now he's calling it, Twitter is kind of like an airplane with an engine on fire, about to crash, So so he did something interesting. He says, I'm going to put out a poll, of whether I want to, whether I should resign as CEO. And so he did this, okay? So the poll came out and said 57%, said, resign Twitter because we want you to, I don't know what, for what, but, we really wanted Elon, to stick with engineering kind of stuff instead of this, touchy-feely Twitter kind of communications things. But, he knows how to fix businesses. So, I kind of thought that, he might be able to fix Twitter because that was just becoming another bullhorn for the extreme left. And, in collusion with the press, our free press, does not tolerate opinions from conservatives very well. So if you have conservative opinions, you're really putting your job on the line. Well, more so in Hollywood, of course. You can't get a job, if you're known as a Republican, or if you whisper that you might have voted for Trump, holy shit, that's a disaster, Yes, Hollywood. Hollywood. They have forgotten how they screamed about freedom during the House of Un-American Activities hearings. So, at that time, anybody that was suspected of any kind of communist leaning was definitely anti-American. And, of course, we were in a Cold War with Russia, communism. And there was a lot of discrimination going on. People lost their jobs because they had communist meetings, and McCarthy and his committee had considered them a threat to national security. And, they were a threat to national security if they had leanings toward Russia and communism. And, at the time, Russia was the headquarters or the cauldron and the incubation period state for communism. So, but now it just flipped around, and of course these guys don't remember that. They weren't even alive, during that time, but some of them were. But in any case, they're now discriminating against conservatives, and if somehow we get into a real tiff with Russia, and the federal government decides that they want to make sure that left-leaning people are not doing harm to the nation and working against the effort that it takes to overcome Russia, this thing can flip again. And we're just too stupid to kind of recognize that we just ought to really just try to get along, and do anything that we can to support the country that, nourishes us, basically. The same for the students in the universities, Jesus, these were all, these are the remnants. They're being educated by the remnants of the Frankfurt School, which is communist and left-leaning ideology, Of course, they don't see it that way, They're saying, well, it's social justice, Jesus Christ. So, as a matter of fact, the guy by the name of Marcuse, who actually brought the idea of, activism through education to the United States, wrote a book called The One-Dimensional Man. And, I want to quote something out of that. It says, it was a strategy intended for the advancement of material conditions and the realization of a higher notion of good. So they were really thinking that they wanted to improve humanity, because, we have to be really strident and knocking out any kind of opposition, because the opposition doesn't understand the higher good that we're working for. Antifa is just like that today, And I think all of the colleges, with their educational dictatorship, basically saying, hey, any opinion that is different from us is simply not welcome. Anyway, That was just my comment, on that particular section. In the universities, oh my God, they've really declared warfare on free speech because, anybody that differs with their opinion, well, they're just not allowed, or they're booed down if they're allowed because, you know, they have rules that allow free speech. So the guy comes and he has to have a lot of security because the students are all leftist. Oh Jesus Christ! And they have no idea what leftist actually, what it would mean to live under leftist rule. There are a lot of people in East Germany and all of the countries that were liberated from this, that liberated themselves from the Soviet Union when that broke up. Um, they know what it means, the lies that you have to listen to, and what you can or cannot say, and if you don't say the right thing, it's kind of China is kind of drifting into that realm a little bit, because Chairman Xi said, "Hey, you obey the rules, and there's a bright and glorious future for you. If you don't," he didn't say that, so just that statement was enough, because what it means, if you don't, you're in shit. Okay, so it's not America, guys. It's not America. Those countries. We're kind of on our own here, by ourselves. Some of the Europeans are close to us, but mostly we're about on our own. Another piece of news that seems to concern us a lot, and that is Prince Harry and Meghan. They just were paid $100 million for a documentary that really lambasts the royals in Britain. And, even the British press isn't happy about that. And so the rift between Harry and William seemed to have really deepened. And it's sad. It's sad because, they, of course, introduced something, like, this is a biracial couple, and one of the kids looks white, the other one looks, more Negro or black. I'm not sure which is the right word right now. But anyway, it's given people a lot of consternation that Harry and Meghan are really pushing this whole idea of, the royals are racist. They call it, what do they call it? They don't call it the factory, but I think it's like the institution or the machine or something of that nature. In other words, is that they're going by strict and strident rules, and if you don't fit in, you're out. And I think royalty needs to be that way, I think the right word for that actually is, they called it the firm. Okay. Well, so much for all that. And just one more thing that I have here, and it's James Webb. The James Webb telescope is threatening our our view of how the universe started. And it's kind of an interesting thing, is that, we have this Big Bang, and then we have the inflationary period, and then, we have, about 380 million after the years after the Big Bang, galaxies formed and so forth. So the James Webb telescope can look farther back into, beyond the Hubble, and it's seeing structures just like the universe is here. And that's a little bit disconcerting, because what that does is it changes, our view of the timelines, between, the Big Bang and, let's say today, which is, 13.7 billion years after, where light reaches us right now, from the Big Bang. And, we actually see right now the remnant of, the what they call the microwave background, which is kind of like a well, I don't know what it is like, but it's It's basically shows up as snow on the TV screens, And but when you look at it very carefully, you see structures in the in the universe that were being formed at that time, and but we didn't have any ideas, that the galaxies were actually being formed a little bit earlier. So they're scrambling right now to take a look at that entire what they call the standard model. So what else is going on? Well, interesting. What's happening now is air traffic is really increasing quite a lot. For instance, I just heard this morning, 90 million people are going to travel in the United States, during the holidays via the airlines. Now in Europe, what they've done is the distances are so much shorter, so they deactivated all their Airbuses, the A380. But now, all of a sudden, there is this increase, in travel, and people want to go, not just in Europe someplace, but elsewhere, to the Emirates or something like this, the Europeans, in Germany and so on, they used to love to go to the Crimean, although I don't think that's happening anymore so much because, of what's going on down there. So, yeah, this is, so they're now refurbishing, some of their mothballed A380s, that can carry, I don't know, like around 300 passengers or so, and putting them back in line. And France is, and here's the other thing, is this fiasco with the Russians and the Ukrainians now has also caused everybody to look at their defense budget, in Europe. And of course, they bought a lot of energy and oil from gas and oil from the Russians, and now the Russians or somebody is detonating the lines, and it's causing a problem. And they pegged the price of oil at $60 in Europe. That they're paying for the Russian oil, and the Russians don't think if they can sell it elsewhere, then they're not going to get it at $60 a barrel. So consequently, the French, they've been not so eager to get rid of their nukes. So they're now reactivating 5 of their nuclear plants. About 70% of their power, almost 80%, I think, was actually nuclear. And so when they're upping the, reinstating their nukes, instead of buying energy from elsewhere, like the Stromautobahn, that the Germans started to build, with windmills from the North Sea. North Sea, yeah, the North Sea. And so they're reactivating their nukes, and maybe Germany needs to look at that and see, hey, maybe Merkel was wrong, about we're just going to deactivate all the nukes. Of course, we have the same thing here in California. Newsom, and the Democrats are saying, oh, we're going to eliminate basically all of the power plants, the oil-fired and nuclear, by X number of years. I don't know what it is, 2035 or so. And maybe they can, if they're, if fusion energy works, or some sort of a pie in the sky kind of energy source, that they think would work. But it's going to be the same thing as with the electric cars, For instance, California said that by that was in the 80s, they legislated that by 2025, there'll be no more gasoline cars in California, and so you wouldn't be able to sell a gasoline car. Well, that didn't happen. Gasoline cars were kept on getting sold. But, right now they still have an initiative, that ultimately you won't be able to sell gasoline ICE engine car in California by, I think, 2035 now. So they had to move that up. And, these things move up and get revised, because we either can't do it or... So we've had some rain here in California, but not enough in order to make up the deficit. And but our Democrat in Sacramento, they're saying, "Oh, you got plenty of water. Just quit wasting it, and you'll have plenty." What the fuck, you know? Anyway, so Elon Musk, you know, will probably he's looking for a CEO for Twitter, and he doesn't want to be the head twit anymore. In any case, I think this should be it for this video. You know, I'm trying to keep it under 30 minutes because, you know, the uploading, the editing, and whatnot. But I have to make a video, not so much about, you know, current events and so forth. Maybe I need to make a video more about family and family history before, you know, my mind goes down a shitter and I can't remember anything. But in any case, for now, I just want to say farewell. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy the Christmas. Merry Christmas. And we must infect the universe with us.